I think it has started. When people start coming in, we'll come to know. If you guys are able to see the videos, just let us know. Able to hear us properly.
It's working for me on my phone.
Perfect. So there are already questions for you guys here, but just for formalities, hey guys, welcome to Top Percentile. My name is Anay Dave, and as you guys know, two of the CET 2021 toppers are here, Aman and Aditya. So welcome guys. You guys must have already seen them on our channel. We've taken interviews with them, and I think they're really good interviews. If you've not seen them so far, please go and see that once. But if you have any questions related to CET, these are the guys you need to ask them to. They were the ones who actually took the paper when the pattern changed. So they know how it was. We took the test, but we didn't have the pressure that they had. And they are in JBIMS, they are juniors now, they are my juniors now. So it's a good thing. It's funny with Aman, but yeah, that's how it is. Anyway, we can start taking questions wherever you guys want to start. Let's just start off with the basic ones. How do you start DI? How did you solve DI fast? In fact, before we do this, why don't you guys give a short introduction of your CET prep? Just a short 1 minute or 30-second introduction. Let's start with that.
So, okay, I'll start. I prepared for CET from Feb, but it actually started with April, and I've given 114 mocks, a lot of them. And my strategy was simple: to solve 200 questions daily, and I tackled it. My logic section was my strongest, and after that quants, and I was weakest in my abstract.
Right.
Mine was I had given 30 marks, and I had given from January till July. I had given 30 marks, and I was more focusing on the analysis part rather than giving more marks, quite contrary to Aditya. But yeah, that was the approach I had taken. That I had focused more, like I was just kept on analyzing it.
Very big difference right there. So we'll actually talk more about this more into the conversation. You can stay on, you can keep it unmuted now, by the way, that's fine. That's perfectly fine. Just whenever you have to talk, go for it. But we'll just start taking questions. Whatever questions you guys have, just please put it in the chat. We'll be here to answer whatever you want. So how did you solve DI fast? Anyone wants to take this first?
Okay, I'll take it first. So DI, what I did was, let's just divide this into two categories. One is the mocks and the other is the actual exam, because those are two very different things which happened for us. So in DI, firstly during mocks, when there were fixed sectionals, what I did was I went, quant was the section I focused first on. I went to the quant section first. And as soon as I went to the quant section, what I did was I started focusing on individual questions rather than coming to DI. So I solved all the quant questions which I could first, and then I came to DI. So that was kind of my strategy for quants or DI. And in DI, I used the method. I thought I wasn't so strong in DI as much I was in quants. So I just went for skipping. Like if I did not know, I just skipped. So I was able to save a lot of time in it. So if you feel you're weak in a section and you're not able to, you're struggling with it constantly, so I think the best strategy to do is just skip it and leave the question.
So yeah, even I did the same, but I think one major thing in DI and logic sections is that a lot of practice is needed. You need to be in constant touch with the subject. So what I used to do before the exam was that before my mock also, I used to solve certain maths questions. So thoda ek zone mein aane ko. And I used to make it a point to solve 5 DIs daily. So that also helped to maintain the consistency.
Right. I had a similar thing to Aditya. I used to do everyday DI, everyday quant questions. I think the main thing about DI is if you're able to calculate, you get the answer. That's about it. You're able to, CET is not that complicated. CAT is a lot more complicated. You need to interpret and understand a lot of things, but here that advantage is definitely there. A lot of Aman fans over here. That's that's nice to see. Lots of people saying hi to Aman. But yeah, how were you able to score 30 plus in quants? I think it's already answered. It's a similar thing. It's just mainly practice, and there aren't too many formulas required in quant, so you can probably skip that. But one important part is VARC. that part, how do you, I think Aman has a very good story in this because he used to take around 12, 13 minutes for VRC and score 25, 30 marks.
15 minutes
and 30 marks. Yeah. So what was that?
Yeah. So my entire strategy was to just increase my marks per minute. So I had all formulated where I was just plotting my marks and the minutes I was taking in that section constantly and seeing how it changed over time. So I realized that if I spend a lot of time on VRC, I'm not getting that much amount of marks. So it's better to cut down on time and get the equal number of marks so that my marks per minute ratio increases. So I kept that for the last, and I never solved any RCs. Even during my mocks, I never gave RCs. I used to just cut down on 15 questions, and I used to attempt 35 questions in RC, and I used to aim for a score of 25 approximately, just by solving VA questions, and I was just giving 15 minutes, so less than 1 minute or just 30 seconds per question. But I ensured that I chose the questions correctly, and those questions were usually one sentence, like if there's a synonym, antonym, and if you don't know, just skip. Like that works perfectly. I used to spend a lot of time in LR or other section which I had confidence in, but the ones I did not feel confident, I was just skipping. So I did the same for DI. I did the same for VRC as well.
Right. So I think main takeaway here is that take the easy ones and do those fast. Like you can do a lot more of the easier ones in a shorter time.
Yeah.
It was about picking the right questions here. Same in DI. Just picking the right questions.
As long as you don't feel confident in that section, follow this strategy. If you're confident, if you feel you're good in verbal, you can aim for a score of 40, 45 and spend 30 minutes on it. It's fine. That's totally up to you. But this worked well for me.
Right, but that ratio becomes lesser. The 40 by 50 is a smaller ratio than what you were getting earlier.
Yeah.
So you're taking the maximum that you were getting, right? So in this, what did you prepare for verbal before that? Like, how did you get the VA part right then? What was that? Because a lot of people keep asking, how do you prepare for grammar rules? I answered it, but from your mouth, what would it be now?
So what I ensured, I started reading a lot of books at that time, and I felt that during that time, my VA score automatically increased. So it's all about practice. It's not something which can be quantified, but if you keep reading 30 pages, 20 pages per day, you have a gist of how to frame sentences, which sentence looks right. You can come across a word, and if you don't know the meaning, you understand by context. And if that word comes up in the mock, you can just go for it. And another thing, I used options a lot. So option, if there's a synonym or antonym given, there were a few options which had the same meaning to each other. So I ruled all of them out and chose the odd one. So aisa karke strategy. So it was basically jugaad, but I think it worked well and helped saving time as well.
Makes sense. End with the jugaad hi hota. Like I think the option part is like the guesses that you make, you have to do that. I think it's not jugaad, but it's like smart guessing, but actually taking a very good approach to it.
I'd like to chip in here. I absolutely hate reading. So as Aman said, he used to read a lot, but I had a ulta strategy. Instead, I gave a lot of mocks. So zabardasti thoda verbal section ka practice. Right. It happened naturally because of the mocks. So I used to just note down the things which I learned from that mock, and I just used to keep that in mind before the next mock. That was a basic strategy. And again, as he said, even I was not so good, so I used to minimize my time in it. So in that time, jitna output nikla utna theek hai, otherwise baki ka let it be.
So how much time was it for you? Kitne minute and kitna score?
For me, it was initially, I had divided it into two parts. I used to solve first. I used to give it 12.5 to 15 minutes, and usme I used to solve the questions which didn't need as much effort, like one-liner sentences or whatever. The number of questions used to change depending on the mock. Right. So I used to solve those in the first 12.5 minutes, and reading comprehensions, the other things such as passage completion and all those questions where you actually need to put in effort. I used to keep that for the end of the exam, for whatever time that may be left.
Got it. Yeah. Sounds good. But that's what I think. If supposing you take Aditya's strategy and you prepare that way, you have to take a lot more mocks because you won't cover the same amount of rules, same amount of words that you cover as Amandeep did. So that's one big difference over there. But we keep getting this VRC question. I think sab log engineers hote hain. Half the crowd is an engineering crowd. They really want to keep asking for this. So yeah, this is an important question. If someone has CET 21 material, CET 20 material rather, and should they update it or should they use the same thing considering the pattern change? Like, let's just take the pattern change and discuss firstly your experience with that. and how next year's aspirants should be looking at that and going with it.
All right, so I'll go ahead with this. So the pattern change was kind of unexpected, and although I was lucky that I had my exam on the second day, it was quite stressful to know that the pattern has changed, and it was quite disappointing that like so many months of your efforts are going to waste. Like I was strategizing a lot section wise, so there were no sections this time. So I thought it was necessary to adapt, and that's what you can capitalize on if you adapt fast. So that was the main difference which I felt I took advantage of, and I adapted more quickly. Coming to the part, I feel so this was a good reminder to everyone that there's no fixed pattern or anything. So you just have to be flexible enough to adapt in all situations. So I think give different types of mocks. Like don't give just CET 2021 mocks thinking that there will be 200 questions without sections. Give both types of mocks. There, for all you know, there will be a third type of exam, but be sure to adapt to it on the day of the exam itself.
Right. But if supposing someone has to prepare right now, should they use the same books or different books now? Like, do you think that entire thing changes or stays the same?
I think they can use the same books because the course was same, the questions were same. It was just that they were scattered. So the 200 questions were coming to us in a bundle rather than coming in 4 different sections. So that was the only change. The question quality remained the same. There was no difference in the question quality as such. But you don't know if you click next, which question will you get?
Yeah.
So
I think that's
although there were a few questions which were, particularly new, especially in abstract, we had more number of types. Then depending on the slot which you had different logic questions. We had time, we had clocks, calendars. These didn't used to come traditionally. So apart from the material you have, I would suggest that you also take care of these small things.
Right. But one thing I want to add here is that even in those papers, I think it was maybe 2 or 3 marks that's the difference that it was making, right? It was 2 or 3 questions that used to come. Yes. So if you didn't know it, you were still, if you had done the other questions, you still had an advantage over there as well. Like it's just about the mindset that you have. Like I think the perceived difficulty was a lot more because as Aman mentioned, the next question, you didn't know what it was. See, because your strategy didn't work, the perceived difficulty was a lot higher. But question by question,
the difficulty was much lower. I wasted 6 minutes in the start of the exam and I had 10 minutes left and I had completed my paper.
Right.
So the way I see it, about 160 questions in my slots were doable, and the rest 40 questions were like anybody's guess, higher mathematics and the stuff I didn't know about. So I couldn't do anything about them. Correct. But the other 160 questions which I'm sure about, they were pretty easy. I mean, correct. You could do it with minimal effort.
Yeah. So Shreekanth will be making a video on this, by the way. So he's making a video on this entire pattern. He was in slot 6, I think. I was in slot 6 as well, and he was in slot 5, maybe one of the two. I'm not sure, but slot 6 is extremely we found it very because we knew 2 days. We were done with 2 days. We knew kaise hone wala, and we had no pressure. We were just taking every question as it came, and the questions were much easier in that sense. I think we were done with around 180 questions in around 60 to 70 minutes. We obviously didn't care. We deleted all the answers at the end, but it was just about that entire thing. And the questionnaires became a lot easier. So yeah, Shreya said, "Great guy, Amandeep." So it's true. Nice, very good comments here. But Dhruman has asked this year in which month CET will be conducted roughly. No one knows. DT themselves will not be knowing as of now. When the notification comes, they will tell us, and everyone will know at that time. Otherwise, just keep preparing. Assume it to be in March or April. It's going to be fine. Like you be prepared whenever it comes. How many students get in through CMAT? General question, so I can't really ask you guys this, but around 18 students usually get through. Might be lesser based on whether they are considering NAT, ATMA, etc. But they have 18 All India seats usually. So it keeps changing based on that. What should be the mock taking frequency for now? So in fact, yeah, for both of you, when you didn't know when the exam date was, I know both of you had very different strategies during that. Maman didn't take mocks, Aditya took mocks. What was it like? What was it exactly?
So the idea for me was, I was in fact hoping they would come and say, you have an exam in next 2 days. So I wanted to be prepared for that. Right. So that was my idea behind taking a mock every single day from July. And other than that, as I said, taking a mock, it helped me calm myself, because otherwise I used to be very anxious, ki kab hoga, kya hoga. But taking a mock, getting that score, that sort of helped me through that phase.
Right.
For me, I started in January thinking that the exam would be in March. And so I was prepared, like I was giving three mocks a week then. And the problem I was facing that I did not have enough time on my hands because I was working as well during that time.
Right.
So working and managing mocks was quite difficult. So I decided to not go too fast and burn myself out till the exam date came. And like Aditya started his started giving mocks in July. I stopped giving mocks in July. So that's quite different, but I was done with 30 mocks by then. So I think that the frequency of mocks is totally up to you. I took it quite slow, and I spent around 3 days on a single mock, whereas Aditya took one mock per day, and it helped him as well. So it's two different approaches, and it's actually good that we can give advice from two different perspectives over here.
Exactly.
Yeah, another fun fact, we both have scored the exact same percentile. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right,
Not
rank
same
31
marks.
or rank 32. Correct.
Yeah. So exact same marks. So yeah,
Amazing.
but you can get those scores using two different strategies. There can be a third. You can mix them up both. It's totally up to you. Just like find your comfort level. Yeah.
Right. But let's say right now, if you were to suggest students currently, when they again don't have a date for CET, when we are assuming it to be March, now
Yeah.
there'll be two things that I'll ask you here. One is for a student who's not finished prep, and one is a student who has finished prep. What would be the numbers for these? Like what general numbers?
So I would say for the one who has finished prep, he can take one every 3 days or maybe 4 days.
Right.
And for someone who is continuing with his prep, I think he can take one weekly and check his papers, how it is going. Yeah.
Yeah, almost same. One in 2 days for someone who has not started prepping, and for someone who is done, he can take it slow. They can actually focus on, like, you don't want to peak at the wrong time if you're getting good marks. So just keep it slow. When the exam date is announced, you can start increasing the frequency of your mocks.
Yeah.
If you're giving 2 per week, you can go to 4 per week. Then don't burn out, but increase the frequency so that the peaking point is the day of the exam. That's your peak. Aim
Right.
for that.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's very easy to give a huge number of mocks. I've taken 63, Aditya has taken 100. We all know it's very easy to take a lot of mocks. If you just take one a day, in 30 days, you're done with 30. Even 20 days, you're done with 20 mocks, and it's added to your total a lot. So when it comes to when you're not prepared, the idea is to cover the syllabus first, because you won't get scores unless you take mocks properly, unless you actually study first, then take mocks rather. But I had to ask, what was your first mock score? Like when did you taken that, and what was it like? Like what level of prep were you? And what was the expectation from that mock after that?
So I had actually given CAT and other exams as well. So I was done with all the exams. That's when I decided to take the first mock. So I gave the exam without any preparation per se for CET, and I did not study anything for CET, but I had the preparation of CAT and other mock exams behind me. So I just gave it, and my score was 106 in my first mock. So.
Right.
Yeah, that's it. But then I started to strategize, change the order of the sections to maximize my marks.
Pretty similar to Amandeep. I had my score in the same 100 to 105. I don't know exactly what. And even I had prepared for CAT and all the other exams. So with that preparation, I had given the mock. I didn't have any such expectations, what to expect, what not to, because I didn't know CET mein aata kya hai. I initially didn't plan CET, but as things went along, I had to give it. So yeah.
Right. Sounds good. And finally you got 140 something, right? 140th,
Yes.
Final score.
Exactly.
I remember Aman sending me a screenshot of the score, which portal pe tha abhi baad mein. But nice,
yeah.
good stuff. I'll just go through a couple of questions quickly. Topics which can be skipped in CET. I find this a very wrong question to be asking at this stage, because, but yeah,
especially after this year's paper, you shouldn't be skipping anything. You don't know which question might come up, how many of those can come up. So I would say एक basic to आना चाहिए, just in case if the question comes easy. For me, I hated simple interest, compound interest, but I knew question easy आया तो I would be able to do it. So I would say be prepared with the basics. If you don't want to dig in deep, that's fine.
Sounds good. Aman, anything to add in this about what to do?
So I had actually gone for I had prepared everything because of my prep in other MBA exams. So I was done with all of it. So I would recommend not to skip anything, and I haven't done the analysis of topic wise marks. So I really don't know which topic I was lacking in. I know the overall section. So I thought it was evening out. So if I'm spending a lot of time on some question which I'm not getting, I would make up for that in the other one. So I thought it evened out. So I did not spend. But yeah, prepare for every single section, every single topic. For all you know, you can have a biology question again. So no big deal.
Right, there's something about dogs, right? About some
Yeah.
dog.
Dissection.
We had a question about dogs.
Right. Pretty crazy. But we already covered grammar part, so I'll skip the questions about that. How to improve error detection and sentence improvement. I think Aman covered that with noticing how sentences are formed and the rules that are there. There is no website, but you'll find PDFs online. I think it's pretty easy to find grammar rules. You'll find hundreds of them. But important question here would be, how do you improve puzzles? And what I'd add to that is, how do you select? How do you select and improve puzzles, and what is the time limit? How did you solve that in general?
So, okay, I'll take this one. I considered myself to be strong in puzzles because the idea was but what I used to do was I had segregated each puzzle into different parts, like a matrix based, this is blood relations. And in my mind, I had sort of made this order. I am the most comfortable with this. First matrix, then weekdays, then something I don't remember exactly now. But in my mind, I had made this order based on how I had performed in the mocks. So that used to help me. Other than that, the number of factors in the puzzle, how many So if it is a mixed puzzle, as in, but I also had certain rules, like if it is a blood relation puzzle, it has to be strictly dealt with at a later stage. I hated it. For circular, if it is inside, outside, plus one something else, then again, many permutations, combinations are possible. So I used to keep it for the end as well. So as you go along, as you practice more, you will understand it for yourself that which is the puzzle you are most comfortable with, which you find it more difficult.
So yeah, kind of similar. Even I felt I had strength in puzzle itself, and for puzzles, it was basically the experience of giving mocks which made you realize which one to go for. And there was one selection criteria, like there were 6 criteria given, and you have to select the candidate or reject him or send him to the HRSA. So I used to take those first, then arrangements one, but that comes only because only when you practice enough. So I think Aditya was good at it because he gave so many mocks. He had subconsciously he had developed which puzzles am I easy in, which category of them. So I think that was like the practice will help you the most in puzzles.
I agree. So in our course, we have the same video, exact same rules that we have in our. Vidhan and I have taken this thing about the exact same points, and it's just practice. Like if you practice in CET, there's nothing that you can't do.
After a point, it is all about intuition. You just know you have to solve this. You don't have to solve it.
Right. Exactly. So a couple of questions about how many different mock providers should you buy from? Any suggestions? I had 3 or 4 that I bought. What was your number?
I had bought from 5 providers.
Of course, 100 एक provider तो नहीं देने वाले.
Yes. IMS, Time. I had taken CET King, Test Funda, and ELC.
Nice. All the big names.
Yeah. I had taken 3: Patrick, IMS, and Test Funda.
Right. That sounds. I mean, when it comes to mock providers, I think the better the name, the bigger the name, you should just go for it. It's fine. Like it becomes a standard mock pattern. It's the same after that. Is Quantum CET book good? Have you guys used that ever? I haven't seen much of it. So if you guys have any suggestions on that.
Me neither.
Yeah. So I had used Arun Sharma, and we've partnered with Test Funda currently, and their books are pretty good. Like we've gone through their content. They have a lot of questions, so we suggest those. But apart from that, I think any book is going to be fine. Like any coaching material, any class material, you just pick it up, solve questions. It's going to be the same. It doesn't matter. Just to make our course more complete, we just give books along with that. I think Prathamesh had asked this even after we asked the question, answered the question. But QA, how do you improve QA? Improve mark per minute for QA. Please take this question. So if you guys have anything for mark per minute, especially in quant.
Okay, go ahead.
Go on.
Heads or tails करके decide कर लो.
अच्छा चल ठीक है, I'll take it. So what I initially had a pretty low MPM in quants. But the thing is कि I was good at maths from the childhood. So वो थोड़ा एक ego factor भी आता था कि नहीं ये question तो उठा नहीं है अभी. So what I did was I segmented the section into different topics and I found out what my comfort zones were. I found out कि जो traditional quants है 10-15 questions. I used to take up a lot of time in those particular questions. I was good at DI and I was good at the number series comparisons and that stuff. So I used to first focus on that and then I used to move on to the traditional quants. So you can figure out which is the best for you and then you can find out your comfort zone.
Again, practice and then intuition khud aa jata hai. I think summary of CET prep is that much. Raman, anything to add?
Mine was the exact opposite. I took DI at the last. I went for number series and traditional quant sections because I thought like it's a single question, so it becomes easy to skip it rather than going for DI first. You won't be able to skip 4 to 5 questions and उसमें 4-5 minutes लगा दोगे. So I did not go for that first. I went for the single questions which you can answer and just move to the next. And it's just like it's a function of marks and minutes. So just either like cut down on your marks and your marks per minute, cut down on your minutes and your marks per minute goes up basically. So I reduced 5 minutes in quants, so that helped me increase my marks per minute.
Right. You reduced here and put in verbal, in logical. Sorry.
I increased in logical. Yeah.
That
5 minutes.
Correct.
Yeah.
Also, one thing in DI, you don't need to actually solve the 5 questions. Yeah, some question might be tricky. You can leave that and solve the other 4 questions and you'll still be good.
Yeah, so there are 2 things in DI. One is when you get a question where all the data is given. There is a second type where there is data hidden. If there is data hidden that you need to calculate, just leave it. Just do it later. That is definitely do it later because then, as Aman said, you have to do all 5. Usme time bahut jayega. But in other sets, sab data diya rehta hai, there'll be 1-2 questions that are so easy that you can just finish in 10 seconds and go ahead without even thinking about what is given in the full thing.
Yes.
You can just read the data, solve and finish it and go ahead. So sometimes, I mean, see, again, it's practice. We've done this a lot of times, so that's why we are able to say this easily. But for you to actually inculcate it, you need to practice a lot. Like, there is a big difference between us saying it just lightly and you actually having to implement that in the final exam with pressure. So that makes a very big difference. I'll just go through a couple other questions if there's anything. How do you solve RC fast? Aman, sorry, you can't answer this one, but Aditya.
Me neither. I used to, again, intuition. What I used to do, I used to take it in the last 6-7 minutes itself. So as it is, I don't have much time. So if it is a fact base, I used to find the keyword and
correct.
Yeah. Otherwise, I used to just take on key intuition based key. This can be the answer. Let's move on. Yeah.
Right.
So
not asking you this. You can still give. I think you'll have cat ka input kuch bhi rahega to.
Like RC I did not attempt. I went for the RC question only when it was given that the solution for this lies in the first paragraph, but that did not happen in CET, so I just skipped it.
Right. So when I took CET for the first time, like when I was in pressure taking it to get into JB, that time I read RCs properly. But last year when I took it SAE, CET 2021, I did what Aditya said. There was a thing on Facebook and they had asked literally what is the full form of some acronym. And literally acronym ढूंढना था और वहाँ पे bracket में full form था. मतलब इतना basic RC पूछा था इस बार कि it was very easy to solve. So that's what in CAT you need to spend a lot of time doing RCs, but here it's very easy. You don't need to read everything. But so for example, even IMS, the rank 1 of 2020 IMS teacher Prabhu, he's very good at solving CET, CAT, everything. He does not read RCs. He reads the questions, he reads the options, answers on general knowledge. Pata hai to he'll solve it. Otherwise, he'll just think kya hoga, eliminate options, mark and go ahead.
Many a times you can actually eliminate 2 options to SAE.
Exactly.
Yeah, if it is based on economy or it is based on environment, you know this cannot be the answer.
Right.
So based on intuition, you can eliminate 2 and increase the probability.
Correct. Exactly. Different type of jugaad again, but it's again smart, so it works out well and you're saving time, so that makes a very big difference. Let's just see if there are any other questions. Argument type questions, let's just take critical reasoning. Let's take the entire thing. Usme kya tha? Mera to, I used to be horrible in it, so that's why Ankit has done all the videos in the course. Maine kuch nahi kiya usme. I used to get, even after spending a lot of time on it, 50% accuracy tha usme mera. What was it for you guys?
Same. I had much lower, in fact. Not even 50%. So I wouldn't be able to comment on it.
Same. So, like I said, I used to just skip so that marks per minute better hota jaye. So
Yeah.
just cut down on minutes.
The thing about CET is that everyone has like everybody takes a different approach to things. Everyone has like, because you can do anything in CET. किसी का ये strong होता है, वो strong होता है. सब लोग आते जाते हैं. The people who deserve to get through do end up getting through later on. Eventually they get through. So it's just hard work that matters. Do whatever you want in the strategy, but end में तो उतना ही होता है. Like it's just that's what matters. Aditya has asked a question about placements. So I'll just answer that. But our entire batch has signed out from placements, so we are done with placements now. And again, I referred to this in yesterday's live, but if you watch day before yesterday's live with Shreekanth, you just watch how he smiles when he talks about placements. He did not reveal anything, he can't reveal anything, but his smile says a lot. So just look at that. You'll get to know a lot of information from there. Any suggestions for abstract reasoning? This, I guess, both of you can answer.
I would say solve questions on a daily basis. 10 questions would do, but just वो आग के नीचे से ले लो एक time. You just go through them, and it doesn't take much time anyways, so it shouldn't be a problem. Solve 10 questions daily, it would help.
Yeah, and I would suggest that take like refer to 3 mocks or more for abstract questions, because each like IMS has their own kinds of abstract questions, and in Patrick it was totally different. I was not able to cross even 12 or 13 marks in Patrick's mocks, and IMS I was able to score 20 at times. So like try to understand Patrick case with the it was quite different. So try to understand कि दो अलग हो सकता है. So exam में कुछ भी आए, you are prepared for that.
Right. Another interesting question is, what's the ideal attempt for 99.9, I guess, plus number of questions that you solved? मतलब genuine questions, not flukes. कितना था उसमें end तक?
In the actual CET, I would say 160, 165. But in mocks, I would say it used to be 170 to 175 to each.
For me, I think it was constant in both. It was around 160, 165.
Right. Sounds good. That's your answer there. And they've scored 140 after that. So you can guess how much accuracy they have in that much. Of course, the 40 marks will also play into it. But I really believe that if you've got through JB, it's not the flukes that have got you through. It's the proper hard work that gets you through it. So that's the main thing. Sharayu has asked, mock ka score kam aata hai, but while analyzing, you can solve most of them correct. What went wrong? This is a very common thing. What was your thing for that? What was your solution to this?
I actually didn't encounter such things, but what used to happen with me was ki mock. So while solving the mock, I didn't used to see a particular thing. Like especially doing puzzles, कि ऐसा होता था कि second to the left लिखा है, but I used to just to the left है, and I used to solve it, and then everything used to go wrong.
Right.
So maybe you need to put in more efforts, like question selection 1, and second, like is it taking much more time even after the mock while analyzing? Are you able to solve it within a minute, or is it taking 2 minutes or 3 minutes? Because then no point in that, right? You need to find shortcuts to solve it in a much quicker time, and you need to remember those shortcuts while solving the mock. I think that's more important.
Yeah. So rather than just saying that you aren't able to solve in the mock, figure out why you weren't able to solve it, and then you'll be able to focus on what the error was.
Yeah. Don't let the pressure get to you. Like if you're not scoring well in mocks and analysis mein correct aa raha hai, that means you actually know the concept. So have that confidence in you that even when you are giving the mock, you will get it right. So it's always like pressure can be a problem. So abhi to kafi time hai CET mein, like even if it take March mein worst case scenario, we have 2 months. So like you have enough time to gain that confidence. So don't panic now itself. You'll be able to score well in mocks.
Got it. Last mock score yaad hai? There's a question, so let's just answer it fast. Thode jaldi karte jate hain.
It was for me. It was around in the range of 130 to 140.
Yours was in July, yaar. You can't even count this. Aditya, you only answer this question.
For me, it was a bit higher, but I had purposely planned that easier mock for the last to keep my confidence high. So I don't think there's much point in comparing this.
Fair enough. Mera ulta tha, and my last score mock was, I think, much lower than what I got in the final thing.
Yeah, actually, that was the reason I purposely planned I would give this easier mock in the end.
The thing is, even though I had a bad mock score, I was fine with it. I was like, pehle kiya hai na, but matlab hua hai. The thing is, even if you have a bad mock on the last day, you need to keep in mind ki pehle you've put in hard work. That is what is going to matter on the last day, not your last mock score. That's the important thing. And afterwards, they've scored 140. Both of them have scored 140. Please share LinkedIn of both of them. I think you can just search their names, mil jayega. But if you know the URL at the end of it, bata do.
I'll just check.
I'll just
mine
drop
is,
it in my in the comments later.
Yeah, mine is Amandeep 7296.
7296, cool.
Yeah, Amandeep Saluja 7296.
Birthday are ek mahine mein. Couple of weeks only, that means. Nice. Let's see any other things. Stock tips from Aman. वो तो बहुत सारे हैं, yes. But let's just see. Sujay is asking, please talk about CMAT as well. The thing is, none of us have any experience with CMAT. We did not study GK. For that, we'll call Akash Pandey to a live. He'll be able to answer it a lot better. We'll call Akash. We'll call Fahad. These people, they've actually cracked it. They will be the ones talking. They know their stuff. Like GK is tough to do. It's not ऐसे ही नहीं होता है. But they've done it properly. We did the easier thing by taking CET. In fact, उनका ज़्यादा tough था. And selection is also lesser in CMAT. So they've definitely worked harder. So let them answer the CMAT question. We'll stick to the CET questions. But we'll definitely call them. Don't worry about that. How to improve question selection mocks? I think it's already generally been answered. Practice and intuition pe ho jata hai baad mein. You keep taking mocks. You keep thinking about why something went wrong. Why either you picked it and got it right, or why you should not have picked something. Both ways. So that's the main thing. What is your average accuracy in mocks? Anything for that? कुछ याद है? अभी तो बहुत
70 to 75%. That it would be in that.
Mine is a little high. It's around 80, 85. But yeah, I used to solve a lesser number of questions compared to Aditya. So our scores were in the same range.
Yeah, Aditya, were you marking flukes or you weren't?
Without flukes, yeah, without flukes.
Without flukes, got it. Okay. Aditya, I think you mentioned practicing DI daily. So where did you get it from? I think websites बहुत मिलते हैं ऐसे.
Yes, IBPS guide करके है. You get good quality questions for them.
You just have to Google CET, PDF, CET questions. You'll get a lot of stuff. मतलब, even if you don't have books to yourself, this is much more than enough. This is all great stuff. 10th and 12th marks पूछिए अब. Luckily JBIMS में चाहिए नहीं होते हैं. All three of us, in fact. तीनों के 12th marks मेरे तो बहुत बुरे हैं. तो in general, I think good that JB doesn't require it, but if you guys want to enlighten them as to how it was, you feel free to modify.
10th it was 89 and 12th it was 79.
Mine was 91 and 78. So
yeah.
I had 92 and 70. So yeah.
बहुत मजे किया था 12th. They do not see 10th and 12th marks in JBIMS. You don't have to worry about that. How do you stay calm on D-Day? This is a good question that you can answer.
I just told okay, go ahead.
So on D-Day, it's quite it's difficult, but you get a lot of time before the exam. You have 1 hour where you are just sitting there and doing nothing. So clear your head during that time, because stay confident with your preparation, because if it's going to happen, it will happen for you. If you have worked hard enough, it will happen. So just clear your head. Don't let pressure get to you on D-Day. That's the basic from my side.
See, you will be under pressure, no doubt about it. I mean, but the thing is, you have to face it. You have to say, chal, now that I am here, I need to focus on what actually I can do in the next 2 hours, because next 2.5 hours. Because if you be in that pressure, if you are under pressure and if you are not able to do well, then everything you have prepared for, that's of no use. So just be calm, be in the moment, take it one question at a time.
Yeah. And I think the best thing that you have to do is just watch topper interviews, because they are the ones who've experienced it in their exam. And I think we've asked each and every person what it was like on D-Day. Not only this year, even last year, lots of people had problems. In fact, my sister, when she took CET 2019 and got through JBIMS, that time she had some issues on her exam day. The only way you can stay calm on exam day is by knowing what other students do who got through. And if they know if you know that they got through, you can also get through eventually. So that's about it. I think that's the main thing over here.
Look at others around you in the test center. If everyone's scared, that means it's fine. So if they are scared, it's going good for you.
ज़्यादा भी मत करो, focus करना paper पे, मतलब 5-10 सेकंड देख लो. वरना बस देखते जाओगे. नहीं, just joking. But yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. And the main thing about his point is to remember that everyone's taking the paper with you.
Yeah.
Like, everyone's in the same boat, and it's a relative score in the end. And the people who were supposed to get through did get through. It's just a little bit of focus on the last day that matters. Just hold on to it on the last day, and then it should be fine. And then a couple of questions about the course. I'll just take this. Can you please introduce only mentoring part in your course? We might do this later on, but right now the thing is, since our course, the mentoring is related to how to use the course to your maximum benefit along with books and the mocks. So that's why mentoring is a combination of that. When you don't have a course to refer to, which we've not seen, we won't be able to provide the exact same guidance because we think our course actually can help a lot with books and in prep right now. That's what we are doing the mentoring session for. But we'll keep this in mind. I'll speak with the team about this. So I'll get back to you on that. Are time mocks worth buying? Any mocks, I think you should just invest in 3-4. Doesn't matter which ones you do. People get through anyway. Like it's fine. Doesn't matter. Just buy a couple of them. The bigger than even the better it is because there are lesser mistakes in that. How to join your course? In the description and after the video ends, there'll be a link to our website, the toppercentile.co.in. You'll get all the information there. You can join a Telegram group. You'll find all the details there as well. And is there any Republic Day discount on top percentile course or mocks? Abhi to nahi hai, but happy Republic Day in advance. But abhi to nahi hai, but we'll announce that on our Telegram channel soon. So again, any communication that happens, you'll get it on our channel or on our website. So just stay tuned to both of them. You'll get messages from that. How do you develop communication skills for interviews? So any tips for that? What have you guys been doing? I think the best thing is to do is just keep talking. मैं तो उतना ही करता हूँ.
Yeah.
I have nothing else.
Yeah, so I had given interviews for other B schools. So yeah, I think like practice them and eventually practice them with seniors. Like if you practice it with your friends, it might not work since you're on the same level. Find some senior authority because someone senior is going to conduct your interview on the final day. So like you can practice that way. I did that.
Yeah, just know yourself. You shouldn't be confused with what you are saying. You should know you should be able to defend yourself.
Yeah, right. Like right now they say something wrong, then I am here to, and you guys will say something in the comments. So they know that, so that's why they are more confident automatically. Like not directly ho jata hai. That's the biggest thing. In JBIMS, do they have GDPI? For entrance, you don't have, but for placement and everything, there's a separate process that takes place. Every college will have a different one, but it depends on the company. And any questions related to placements, where I've got placed or salary, etc., we cannot answer that. Once the placement report comes, you can check it out over there. Or once the job starts, you'll see it on everyone's LinkedIn. So you can just wait a couple of months. You'll be able to see all the updates over there. I think we're coming to the end of questions that are there right now. Let's just wait for a minute and see. Otherwise, we'll just stop. We'll end the video here. I have not given any mock yet, and my concepts are not clear. So, is JBIMS happening in 2 months? So, any advice for people who've not started full prep? Basics are not clear.
Like Aditya would be the best one because he started in July and still he converted JBIMS in 2 months. Like he started giving mocks in July. So I think it can happen if you practice like that. Like if you are determined enough and you put the hard work. Aditya would be a better candidate to answer that.
The way I think it is, like anyways, the level of difficulty this year was much lower, and if this continues, it is that much easier for you because you don't need to go in depth of any topic. You just need to know the basics and you are good with it.
Right. I think the main thing about this is first covering basics. If you are able to cover the basics, mocks is a very separate part. Like you can, as we already mentioned in the video. In fact, a lot of these questions are going to get repeated now. I think we've already repeated a lot of answers here. But mainly just finish your basics right now, then go for the mocks. But yeah, I think we'll end the session here. Most of the people in the comments now are our friends from JBIMS, so that is nice. But nice to see you guys here. Good to have you guys here. But yeah, we'll call it a night. Thank you so much, Aman and Aditya, for being here. It's been really nice. If you want more of their content, they already have videos here. Aman, in fact, has a 50-minute interview that we've taken. we were sitting at 3 a.m. and we were talking. He just kept talking. Like it was not an interview. He was just talking on Zoom. So वो upload कर दिया तो देख लेना. It's really nice. And Aditya has shared a lot of tips. So please go through those videos. If you have any queries, you can reach out to us on Instagram. We can ask them again to come here or whatever is needed. Just make sure you reach out and ask what is required. But yeah, thank you so much, guys, and good night.